Hello, everyone. Nature is majestic, but when it rages, it can destroy everything in the blink of an eye.
Oh my God!
Storms, tornadoes, landslides, all bring terrifying moments. When facing this power, what can humans do to survive? Let's witness the terrifying wrath of Mother Nature. An earthquake shook the ground, causing the cliff to collapse. A vehicle moving along the mountain road was completely unaware. Suddenly, a massive block of earth and rocks came crashing down, swallowing the car in an instant. When rescue teams arrived, they found nothing but a scene of destruction where the car had been buried under the rubble. Nature once again reminded us of its destructive power. The gradual warming of the climate weakened the massive ice blocks. Suddenly, a large section of the glacier cracked and plunged into the water, creating a towering wave of white foam shooting into the air. A devastating wildfire in California destroyed thousands of acres of forest, turning the area into an inferno. The intense heat combined with strong winds created fire whirlwinds, lifting flames as high as several dozen feet. An Australian man captured an incredible moment when a fire whirl, also known as a firenado, erupted fiercely, sweeping across agricultural land in a remote area. The swirling flames twisted in the strong winds, rising like a towering inferno, consuming everything in its path. The sky was a fiery red, with ash and dust filling the air, creating a scene that was both spectacular and terrifying. A video recorded a horrifying moment when a violent flood destroyed a wall, sweeping away everything in its path. The murky waters surged through the streets, turning the entire area into chaos. The residents appeared terrified, helplessly watching as the raging waters submerged their belongings. This is a clear demonstration of nature's brutality within moments. Everything can be swept away, and nothing can stop it. A moment when a massive dust storm suddenly swept in, engulfing the road and carrying everything in its path. The sky was covered with thick dust, causing the visibility to become hazy. An orange truck moved slowly along the narrow road, trying to navigate through nature's fury. The trees swayed and the wind howled, signaling the power of the storm. Would those present be able to escape the disaster closing in? A dramatic video captured the moment when a tornado suddenly struck the Walmart parking lot in Texas, causing shoppers to panic and flee. The strong winds blew everything in its path. Cars shook violently, shopping carts were tossed into the air, and debris flew everywhere. The howling wind drowned out the screams of those present. Some rushed into the store to seek shelter, while others tried to reach their cars amid the chaos. Twickenham recently experienced a violent storm with strong winds and torrential rain. The sky suddenly darkened, trees were knocked down, and signs shook violently in the raging storm. People hurriedly sought shelter as gusts of wind swept through, carrying leaves and debris in all directions.
There's a tornado. Oh my gosh.
A fierce tornado swept through the South Texas highway, creating a horrifying scene. The strong winds tore apart everything in its path, sending debris flying and knocking down traffic signs and power poles.
Oh my gosh.
Drivers could only stop their cars, turn on their hazard lights, and hope the tornado would pass quickly. The sky darkened, and dust and debris swirled in the air, creating a terrifying sight like something out of a disaster movie. A terrifying tornado struck California, sweeping away many of the residents' belongings in the blink of an eye. The fierce winds howled, lifting roofs, knocking down trees and carrying everything in its path. The residents could only run to find shelter, while debris flew wildly in every direction. A terrifying earthquake ripped through the earth in Turkey, plunging the entire city into ruin in just minutes. Solid buildings were reduced to rubble. Thick dust covered the sky, and the sound of panic echoed everywhere. The pain felt by the Turkish people also deeply touched the hearts of those in Kyrgyzstan. A horrific landslide in Peru caused giant boulders to crash down the road, crushing a truck under their immense weight. The scene was chaotic as rocks and earth continued to pour down, burying everything and destroying the road. A firefighter in Canada captured this rare and terrifying moment while battling a raging forest fire in British Columbia earlier this month. The fire spiraled upward like a column of hellfire, consuming everything in its path.
Oh my gosh. Are you guys seeing this?
Lake fire is rapidly spreading toward Hughes Lake, creating a massive fire whirl, sweeping everything in its path. Witnesses describe an unprecedented scene, as columns of fire shoot high into the air, swirling violently like a storm. The fire whirl, a rare but powerful phenomenon, devours homes, trees, and vehicles in an instant. With the intense heat and rapid spread of the fire, the firefighters are working tirelessly to contain it. But can humanity cope with the fury of nature? The landslide in South Korea turned the residential area into a pile of rubble. The heavy, continuous rain weakened the structure of the earth and rocks, triggering a massive landslide. The entire hillside collapsed, carrying trees, homes, and vehicles with it. Residents fled in panic as the rushing mud flooded the streets, burying everything in its path. Vehicles were swept away like toys, while buildings trembled under the destructive force of nature. The devastating floods have submerged an area in Pakistan, turning the streets into raging rivers. The floodwaters rose high, sweeping away houses, vehicles, and everything in its path. The fast-flowing water surged, drowning buildings in the blink of an eye. The power of nature is terrifying, leaving behind a scene of desolation and ruin. Ranisfiara Beach is famous for its powerful waves from the Atlantic Ocean, always carrying hidden dangers. Despite its majestic beauty, the large waves can suddenly strike, sweeping away anyone who is careless. Once again, nature proves its uncontrollable power. A powder avalanche just occurred in Dorfberg, Davos, creating a massive snow cloud rushing down the mountainside with terrifying speed. The pristine and peaceful white scene was suddenly torn apart by the violent flow of snow, threatening everything in its path. Although this area is well known for its avalanche control measures, can humans truly master the immense power of nature? A firenado, also known as a fire tornado, is a rare yet extremely dangerous phenomenon where fire combines with strong winds to form a towering fiery vortex. Witnessing this spectacle, you truly realize its terrifying scale. Helicopters circling around seem like tiny specks, while firefighters appear helpless against the brutal power of the flames. A fierce wildfire erupted, consuming a vast region, with intense heat rising into the air, creating a massive fire vortex. The spiral column of fire blazed, twisting in the wind, carrying ash and embers everywhere. The unbearable heat made the air tremble. Trees collapsed in the ferocious flames. A violent tornado swept through the area near Sycamore, Illinois, bringing strong gusts of wind and torrential rain. The sky turned an ominous gray as the wind howled furiously before the tornado struck. In an instant, it barreled into a building, tearing off the roof, shattering the windows, and sweeping away everything in its path. Debris flew wildly through the air as the structure of the building trembled violently before the overwhelming power of nature. When the tornado passed, all that remained was devastation and desolation. A terrifying tornado tore through central Italy, right over a densely populated area, causing chaos and significant damage. The howling winds carried away rooftops, trees, and many other objects in its path. Buildings shook under the fierce wind, windows shattered, and debris flew everywhere. The streets turned into a battlefield, with overturned vehicles, downed power poles, and the transportation system nearly paralyzed. A fierce snowstorm blanketed the road, creating massive snowdrifts along the roadside and obscuring visibility. The sky was overcast, and snowflakes fell relentlessly, covering the entire area. The trees along the road braced against the cold, while the icy road posed a serious risk of accidents. Nature's wrath not only halted traffic, but also increased the risk of avalanches, threatening anyone moving through the area. A terrifying landslide swept through Nara Prefecture, Japan, in August 2001, sweeping away everything in its path. Rocks and mud slid down at a terrifying speed, destroying trees and shaking the entire area. The fury of nature occurred in an instant, leaving behind a desolate scene with eroded land patches, uprooted trees, and a road split apart. Grand Falls, also known as the Chocolate Falls in Arizona, is roaring fiercely with muddy water cascading down from the majestic cliffs. This waterfall doesn't flow year-round, but only appears when the snow melts or heavy rain raises the water level, creating a spectacular sight like a muddy river flowing from above. This is one of the rare moments when nature reveals its wild beauty and unstoppable power. A giant waterspout suddenly appeared offshore from Destin, Florida, leaving early risers in shock. The swirling column of water rose high from the ocean's surface, towering and fierce, creating a scene both magnificent and terrifying. Once again, nature's power reminds humanity of its insignificance in the face of sudden wrath from the earth and sky.
Let's go!
A gigantic tornado swept across the highway, creating a terrifying scene like something out of a disaster movie. The massive dust whirlpool stretched high into the sky, connecting the ground with swirling dark clouds, signaling that the destructive force was approaching. A horrifying landslide swept an entire house into the sea in Norway, creating a frightening and haunting scene. The ground quickly gave way, pulling the entire structure into the raging waters. This scene serves as a chilling reminder of nature's destructive power and the fragility of humans in the face of unexpected disasters. A terrifying scene unfolded in Yabucoa around 7:29 a.m. during Hurricane Maria. The violent crosswinds swept through the streets, carrying everything in its path. A white car swayed violently in the storm, while debris and objects around it were blown away like bullets shot from the whirlwind. The brutal power of nature was on full display in a terrifying way. A chaotic morning began when we received an emergency call at 5:44 a.m. from the security company. The motion detection system at the Sky Dome area of the museum was unexpectedly triggered, signaling something unusual. When we arrived, the sight before us left us stunned. A massive sinkhole had appeared right inside the museum. Fortunately, at that time, no one was inside or near the affected area.